It seemed the entire staff had been swept up in the romance. Everywhere Mr. Walker went, he could hear them gossiping about it. Mirage, in her excitement, had even congratulated the young woman in the hallway. Realising her mistake, Mirage had hurried off without further explanation, leaving the young woman puzzled as to what she had done to deserve such praise. Mr. Walker was amused to see Omid hovering by the glass doors that led to the lobby. Even grumpy Omid wasn't immune to true love. Miles cleared his throat. He had been looking forward to this day for so long, but was now beset with last-minute nerves. "Beth will arrive to meet me for coffee," he began. "I'll lead her over to those flower beds where we'll be joined by Mr. Walker. I'll take the ring from him and ask Beth to marry me." "Fantastic!" Henry clapped his hands and grinned. "Then we'll pop the champagne, which I have right here," he added, pointing to a fancy-looking bottle perched in a bucket of ice. Mr. Walker danced on the spot. He could feel the slight weight of the diamond ring as it dangled from the ribbon around his neck. After having been washed, dried, primped and brushed, his yellow coat gleamed in the spring sunshine. The pleasant scene was interrupted by the sound of angry voices. Mr. Walker looked up to see the painters climbing up the scaffolding. He wondered what was wrong, as they were usually a cheerful bunch. "Painters are early," Henry frowned, checking his watch. I hadn't thought of that." Mr. Walker's nose twitched. He sniffed the air. "That's odd," he thought. "The painters smelled different today. Gone was their usual scent of paint remover mixed with the smell of the meat pies they loved to eat for lunch." Mr. Walker also noticed they were wearing white caps today instead of their usual orange ones. Maybe they had to have a wash too, he thought. "She's here!" Miles gasped suddenly, a look of panic flashing across his face. Henry gave him a pat on the back. "You'll be great. Deep breaths. We'll see you in a jiffy." Mr. Walker and Henry quickly retreated to a corner of the garden, where they pretended to inspect the flower beds. While they waited, Mr. Walker noticed the painters were at the top of the scaffolding. It seemed strange that they were standing on the top platform, as they had completed painting that section the day before. "Morning," Beth called, waving to Mr. Walker and Henry as she joined Miles. Henry waved back, and he and Mr. Walker watched on as Miles took Beth's hand in his. This was Mr. Walker's cue. "Off you go," Henry whispered. Mr. Walker padded over to the young couple. It took every ounce of restraint he had not to gallop over to them. The diamond ring swung back and forth on the ribbon around his neck. Beth appeared confused at first, then stunned and somewhat pleased when she spotted the ring. Mr. Walker grinned and settled his bottom onto the ground. Miles knelt on one knee beside him and with trembling hands began to untie the bow. Bring! A shrill bell rang so loudly it hurt Mr. Walker's ears. He winced and started barking, which wasn't like him at all. Henry hurried over and had to shout to make himself heard. "Apologies for interrupting, but that's the fire alarm. I must ask that you accompany me to our evacuation point." Beth nodded, stunned by all that was going on. Miles stood up and took her hand in his. "Of course," he said to Henry. "Lead the way." Mr. Walker, Miles and Beth followed Henry to the front of the hotel. As they made their way to the small park across the road, they were joined by a steady stream of guests and staff. Some were in their swimsuits. Others were wrapped in towels with green face masks on, having clearly been interrupted at the spa. Quite a lot of the guests were still in their pyjamas and slippers. Nearby residents had also emerged. Mr. Walker could smell Charlie and Poncho and soon spotted them standing with their owners. He couldn't see Edna, but he could hear her yapping despite the wail of the fire alarm. Mr. Walker also noticed a group of men in white overalls had also gathered. They smelled of paint remover and meat pies and were back to wearing orange caps instead of white ones. How peculiar, he thought to himself. Henry must have thought the same thing. "You did well to beat us over here," he said to the painters. "So much for your early start." "We haven't started yet," one of the men replied. "We'd just arrived when the alarm went off." Henry looked puzzled, and was about to reply when Omid appeared on the scene. He was his usual unflappable self, despite having to evacuate a hotel of over 500 people.